Well, it is Senior Bowl week, which means you should be prepared. You should be prepared for a lot of clips on social media, primarily the app X, as it were, maybe a little bit of Reddit. I don't know, maybe some of you are on Facebook. I'm not really sure what streets you're owning, but you should be prepared because Senior Bowl week is the week where clips start to go around. These guys are competing, wide receivers in one-on-one battles against DBs that they should always win. And ultimately, people are going to overreact. So it's going to be fun to talk about. There'll be a lot of players that we're monitoring throughout the week and kind of seeing how they're progressing at the Senior Bowl. Obviously, the Senior Bowl is helpful. Don't hear what I'm not saying, but I just imagine that we will get some pretty clear overreactions here coming in soon. What is up, Casanova in the building? Scribbles in the building. I see Styles in the building. Just want to quickly address Mark here, who says, is Fast Draft good for Quebec now? I don't know that answer right now, to be honest with you. I can, if you remind me at the end of the stream, I can make sure and hit up Matt about that. What I do know, which is very exciting news, is if any of you guys are living in Michigan, I just want to quickly say this before we jump in. This is something that we have been working on for almost a year now with the state of Michigan. And Michigan is pretty much banned from any sort of DFS anywhere at all. I know this because a lot of our supporters are from Michigan. However, I have great news for our Michiganders because we just last week, we just got Fast Draft cleared for Michigan, which is huge. Like, I don't think there's really another app available for you guys to play best ball on. Obviously, Fast Draft is very unique in all the contests that they offer. The Origin Draft, which is rookies only, the only place to do rookie drafts. They just today released the Rabbit as well, which the Rabbit is their 15-round, 22nd, 2026 draft option. So, guys, if you have never played on DFS, if you've never played best ball, if you've never played Fast Draft, well, Michigan, I wanted to let you quickly know, is officially in the clear and ready to go. So sign up to Fast Draft with the code LAND. I'll match your deposit up to $50. What's up, Ramen God? Rio's in the chat. Ramen says he grew up in Grand Rapids. You love to see it. The Zoo is saying, when are we getting a hair reveal? Obviously, this is a running joke that goes from the Flock League. Should I do a hair reveal? What do you guys think? Should we do a hair reveal? Maybe I'll come up with something here soon. But obviously, as we mentioned, the Senior Bowl is in full swing. So we've got a lot of players in the 2026 NFL Draft that we're going to be monitoring throughout this week. And the measurements came in today. And I think there's a couple names that we should talk about. The first one is one that you've probably heard of already, Diego Pavia. I'm probably saying that wrong. Now, it's going to be easier to view it here on X. Shout out to Garrett Price. He is 5'10", 198 pounds. And this is one of those guys who's like a sleeper, coming into the 2026 draft. Fun play style, really aggressive player. But at 5'10", 198 pounds, you can almost guarantee this guy isn't getting drafted before round 6, 7. He might. I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. I mean, he might even be an undrafted free agent. But interesting to see all these. Garrett Nussmeier at 6'1". Some people thought he might be under 6'1". Mike Washington. You had a lot of big boys weigh in at the Senior Bowl. And by the way, on today's stream, we are going to be giving away one of our live team playbooks. And the code word to get in is Senior Bowl, all one word. So if you want to enter today's giveaway, all you have to do is like the video, like the stream today, and type Senior Bowl. Those are the two very simple steps to enter today's giveaway to win a team playbook. But speaking about the Senior Bowl all day, a lot of big boys in this class at the running back spot. Mike Washington, everyone's favorite sleeper right now, 6'1", 228 pounds. Katron Allen, right there at 220 pounds. We had his teammate Nick Singleton at 221. A lot of big boys in this class. Didn't get measurements on Le'Veon Moss, unfortunately. Jamari Taylor, one of my, I like Jamari Taylor because I'm a University of Virginia guy. So he obviously played really well for us this year. Nothing else was all that surprising to me Nothing at tight end really stood out. Justin Jolly at 6'3", 251. He's a really nice mover in space. We're going to monitor him. Josh Cameron was at 6'1", 223. Where did I'm trying to remember if I had a profile for Cameron. Where did we have him at before the draft? 6'1", 223. Let's see. I'm pretty sure I had a profile for him up. Let's see. Josh Cameron. Before the draft, we had him at 6 foot 200, 6 foot 200 pounds. So he officially weighs in at 6'1", 223. So he's actually bigger than we thought. That's very rarely the case. Malachi Fields comes in at 6'4", 218. That feels accurate to what we had. Let me look at Malachi. Where do I have him at? We had him at 6'4", 215. So pretty much the same exact size there. Jacoby Lane comes in at 6'4", 196 pounds. 6'4", 196. Where do we have Jacoby? We had him at 6'4", 205. So officially he is a little bit lighter, but that's fine. He's still 6'4". Nothing all that surprising. But you'll definitely be seeing Senior Bowl clips throughout the entirety of this week. So, yeah, it will be exciting to discuss. Style says, hair reveal at 25K subs. I have an idea for the month of February where, like, if we reach a goal together as a community, maybe I'll do a hair reveal. Stay tuned on that. Daniel says, does Zach hate this class? Everyone seems to hate it. I've had, like, concerns about this class going all the way back to last year. So, I don't hate the class. I just think the class is what it is. And I'm not going to overhype it just for the sake of viewership or content. The class is what it is. It's not a strong class in my opinion. But there are still good players and still plenty of upside names. But again, appreciate y'all being here. We are going to jump into a 2026 startup mock draft. If you want to enter today's giveaway, all you have to do is simply like today's stream and type Senior Bowl, all one word, okay? Don't put any spaces, and then you'll be automatically entered to win a playbook on today's stream. Okay. Let's jump into a startup mock draft together. Now, if you want to join this mock draft, first step is very simple. It's just to create a free account. You can sign up with the promo code LAND and create a completely free account. And then you'll be able to jump into as many drafts as you want, not only with me on live streams, but with our entire community. There's always people drafting over there. In fact, this draft that we're about to do is draft number 260,000 on the Flock site. And we only have had the mock draft feature up for about 7-8 months. So it is a first come, first serve. I am going to first offer the spots in our Discord. And then quickly after that, I'll pop it over in the YouTube chat. But if you want that first priority, make sure you're a part of the Discord. You can go to the Land tab. Then you go to Announcements under Fantasyland. Actually Mock Drafts under Fantasyland. And this is where I'm going to paste this link. It is a first come, first serve scenario. Again, in the Flock Discord, under the Land tab, you got the Mock Drafts tab. I'll put the link there for you to join. And then that's first come, first serve. And if we don't fill up in the first, let's say minute or two, then I'll pop it into the YouTube chat. Which, I don't know. I don't think we're going to fill up, but I could be wrong. Okay, maybe we did. Did we just fill up? I can't see. Can someone tell me if we're full? It looks like we have one more spot. All right, let me paste it in the YouTube chat now. Go crazy. Someone tell me if we're full, because I don't want to hit start draft if we're not actually full. I think we are full, though. We're full? Okay. We're going to go ahead and start this draft. This is a 12-team Superflex PPR. We'll do a half tight and premium startup mock draft, okay? That's what we're rocking with today. As Mr. Drake May comes off the board there first. Oh. Okay, there's no way for me to hide this. Okay, there it is. Drake May coming off the board first. Xander says, was watching your recent video while my startup Dynasty draft was going and I was queuing up some of the players they got sniped. I'm curious what players that were sniped from you there. All right, Drake May at the 101. We had a conversation about this last week. I truly believe, whatever your opinion is between Josh Allen and Drake May, I think you can make an argument between those two names. Then after that, we get Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is just completely taking over. Obviously this year, 22.5 points per game. What an absolute steal if you ended up getting him in the offseason. And then in the playoffs, he's just been by far the clear best receiver. I think he's probably the best non-quarterback in the NFL, like position skill wise. I can't think of a better running back or wide receiver right now than Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's probably that dude. If you take out quarterbacks and you do a draft for NFL GMs, Jason's probably coming off the board first. After that, we get Jaden Daniels, who I think is a great buy low right now. Then Chase Puka Nacua. And your boy's on the clock here. We can go quarterback. We can go wide receiver, running back. I'm just going to grab Bijan here at the 107. Yes, it is a super flex league, but I want to kind of see how this all pans out, because it seems like this offseason in every startup I'm in, when I don't punt quarterback, I end up regretting it. And I just want to see how that plays out. Now, the people who get two stud quarterbacks at the top are going to have a big advantage if they fill out the rest of the roster. But I'm just starting to feel like the more I do these drafts with you guys, the more I regret going quarterback early. It's starting to become a real trend so far. Right after Bijan, we get Jahmyr Gibbs. No surprise there. Then Lamar Jackson. How about that? Only 4 quarterbacks through the first 11 picks. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Patty says, did Lamar die? Yeah, Lamar's an interesting one. You look at his numbers pre and post hamstring injury. They are pretty significant. I think he's going to have a good bounce back here in 2026. So after we get Amon-Ra St. Brown off the board at the 110, we also get CeeDee Lamb, then Malik Neighbors, and Justin Jefferson. Definitely want to get some Justin Jefferson, as much stock of him as I can on my squads here in 2026 offseason. I think they're going to figure out that quarterback spot, and you got a really good buy low on him. What's up, Albert? Welcome in. Welcome in. What's up, Mike? Welcome in. Xander says it was Jonathan Brooks, and I had my eye on Fergie and had me convinced in the snipe. Oh, that sucks, man. Yeah, I want Jonathan Brooks. I guarantee everyone who's in the league with me knows that because I've sent offers out for him. Okay, we get the first rookie pick off the board. Obviously, we're assuming that is Jeremiah Love. And wow. Yeah. I'm not saying it's the wrong pick. I'm trying to imagine all the players that are still available. And I'm trying to work through it in my head how I feel about this. Again, not saying it's the wrong pick, but I'm just thinking through every player available right now. Wow, okay. Okay. I'm on the clock here. I'm going to grab Drake London. I'll grab Drake London here at the 206. Only reason I was hesitant there is because I don't ideally want to start with 2 Falcons. But when you look at Drake London before the injury, I mean, he was... I have no doubt that if Penix and London stayed healthy, then you're probably looking at London as a locked and loaded top 5, consideration. It almost feels silly how good he was playing before that injury. Again, weeks 1 to 11, he was just on track to have an absolute huge year. Let's look at Drake London here again, and looking at weeks 1 to 11 before that injury. You know, you're looking at a guy 19.7 points per game, over 10 targets per game, almost 33% target share. Just top 5 in all these numbers: targets, target share, receptions, receiving yards per game, points per game. If, again, he stays healthy and Michael Penix stays healthy, I'd be very curious to see where he would have gone in startups. Okay, so after the 101, we do get Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams. I went London there. Mr. Brock Bowers off the board next. Obviously, brand new coaching staff, brand new quarterback. Devon Achane at the 208. I'm a little bit concerned about Devon Achane. I mean, can we have a conversation? Can we have a conversation about Devon Achane? I'm not going to come out here and say like he's a player you have to trade. That's not at all what I'm going to suggest here. My question is just, what does the departure of Mike McDaniel mean for Devon Achane? I don't know exactly what the answer is, but I'm trying to work it out in my head. You know, you had a guy who was comfortable giving Devon Achane 7, 8, 9, 10 targets in any single game, being your number one running back, your number one wide receiver. We know Devon Achane is an absolute superstar anywhere outside the 10-yard lines. But will a new quarterback come in and try and feature someone else in a short yardage role? Will they reconsider how much they use him in the air? I don't know. I'm asking the questions. And this is why I keep telling you guys I'm having such a hard time going quarterback early in these drafts, because I get Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd round here in a super flex league. This is the way startup drafts are trending right now. You can start your draft with 2 studs and then end up with freaking Patrick Mahomes at the 307. So I'm going to keep doing this as long as the trends keep showing me that it's possible. Dusty says, London was balling out. It's a good start. Let's hope coaching situation ends up favorable. Bobby Slowick is the offensive coordinator. Yeah, and I remember Bobby Slowick in Houston. Now, the reason why I think we can be somewhat confident in Devon Achane is because if you look at Bobby Slowick and you look at what he's been doing, well, he was already in Miami. They promoted him from being the passing game coordinator, if you guys can see that. He was a passing game coordinator last year. He's the offensive coordinator this year. And I think it goes without saying that the most successful part of the Miami Dolphins offense was Devon Achane and the way that they deployed him. So I'm trying to be reasonable here. Devon Achane is like one of the best talents in the entire NFL. I'm just asking the question. I'm just saying, should we have a conversation about it? To me, the fact that Jeremiah Love goes, about half a round, almost a full round ahead of Ashton Genty is a little bit surprising. Him going ahead of Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, I think we're really betting on him to be that guy straight away. Justin Herbert at the 212 there. Then we get McMillan, Pickens. I will say I'm surprised the 102 goes that high. I don't know if there's a specific player you guys love at the 102. Let me know. There's definitely some names I'm interested in, but I would pretty comfortably take pretty much everyone in round 3 over the 102. Maybe not Purdy, maybe not Cook, but I would pretty much comfortably take most of these names over that 102. I think that's a little too aggressive for me personally. All right. Right after Patrick Mahomes, we had Nico Collins coming off the board. Emeka Egbuka still going in round 3, still going strong. I talked about Jalen McMillan in a video today that I just recorded, and I would just like to start a narrative. I just want to ask a question, okay? Don't hear what I'm not saying, but Jalen McMillan came back in week 15. And I just want to have a conversation about their usage. So after Olave Henderson, we have the 103 off the board there. We've got Johnny Taylor. We've got plenty of quarterbacks that are just fine. We've got Rome, Ladd, Brian. Yeah. I'm in an interesting spot here, aren't I? One running back, one quarterback, one receiver. What do my rankings say? Yeah. I think I want to get in on Ladd McConkey here in round 4. I think I'll buy in on Ladd McConkey there at the 406. So basically, do you want to bet on Ladd McConkey or Tyson, Lemon, Tate there? I think you can make an argument for either way if you have a strong opinion there. But let's talk about Emeka Egbuka. Let's be very clear before I even get into this. I liked Emeka Egbuka as a prospect. I think he had a really unlucky second half of the year. I think the hamstring definitely, hurt his season. He showed a ton of flashes. He had some really low lows. But my guy Jalen McMillan comes back in week 15. And the usage is basically split down the middle. When you had a healthy Mike Evans, a healthy Jalen McMillan, everyone's back. This is a 4-week stretch where Jalen McMillan outscores Egbuka on a per-game basis. The target share is 12.9% compared to 13.8%, less than a percentage of a difference. The targets are 3.7 per game, 4.3. But McMillan is outproducing Egbuka in receptions, in receiving yards, in yards per target, yards per route run. Has more routes in those games. Obviously, I'm a Jalen McMillan guy. Y'all know that. He was one of my favorite my guys coming out of that class. But is there a scenario here where we're drafting Emeka Egbuka in round 3, expecting Mike Evans to retire? What if Mike Evans comes back? And then you've got Mike Evans healthy. You've got Chris Godwin fully healthy off an injury. You've got Jalen McMillan healthy. I'm just curious why we are all so aggressively in on Egbuka. And in the opposite sense, so concerned about like a Roma Dunze because of target share. Who, he had a really great start to the year, but also dealt with injuries. There's a lot of players that I think are worth having a conversation about. And I think he's one of those guys. I think it's worth opening up that, that narrative and just trying to have a conversation about it. Loveland at the 405, no surprise. He's a tight end 3 off the board there. I would say, despite what KTC says, KTC still has Tyler Warren ahead of Colson Loveland. I would say consensus is probably Loveland over Warren at this point. Then we get some running backs in the 4th with Bucky, Taylor, Odunze, Dak, Breece Hall at the 412, and Tyler Warren at the 501. Style says, I think the community is still thinking about and stuck on the first half of the season with no Evans, Godwin, and McMillan. Could be. And I'm not even suggesting that you can't take Egbuka this early. I think he's a great prospect. I think he's going to be very successful in the NFL. But I just think it's a lot of confidence over some of these other names. I mean, you're taking him, half a round over Olave, who's basically become what you hope Egbuka would become, right? Olave became that star, excuse me. In the 5th round, we got some names that obviously you've got some question marks on with Marvin, Judkins, Scadaboo there. Judkins and Scadaboo coming back from those injuries. What sort of player will they be? Those are the questions that we're all going to have to ask ourselves. Yeah, I got to be honest. I don't think I'm going to be taking quarterback early anymore. Okay, I was either going to go the 105 or Jared Goff. So here in this super flex league, I don't go quarterback until round 3. I still end up with Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes, Bijan, London, McConkey. I'm kind of obsessed with that kind of start. I'm not going to lie with y'all. I kind of like the way that's looking. You guys are starting to convince me to go more towards the non-quarterback early route. What's up, EB? I don't play personally in any non-PPR. I did a long time ago when I first started playing fantasy, but not anymore. I'm pretty much in all leagues that are at least PPR or half PPR. So yeah. Again, appreciate y'all being here with us. If you don't know, we are doing a giveaway today. We're giving away a live team playbook, customized review of your Dynasty team. All you have to do to enter is simply like the stream and type Senior Bowl. That's our code word today. All one word, no spaces, and you'll be entered. Jared Goff comes off the board at the 507. T. Higgins at the 508. Ken Walker at the 509. I went ahead and bought me some Ken Walker before the playoffs began. And I'm very happy with the price that I got him at. I bought him for the 111. This was on January 20th, so about a week ago. It's about a week and a half ago. I tweeted out about a week ago. I think he's going to be more expensive than this now. But I did want to have a conversation because I keep seeing people on X insinuate that, oh, because Ken Walker's playing so well and he's been such a workhorse, surely the Seahawks are going to make him a workhorse next year. And I don't know about that. I mean, I think what the Seahawks did worked. As angry as you want to be in fantasy, and rightfully so, what they did worked. He's healthy. He's contributed all year. They're in the Super Bowl. I feel like this whole Seahawks splitting their backfield thing, I think teams are going to see it and try and replicate it going forward. I don't think you're going to see, I don't think NFL teams are going to be like, well, the Seahawks did it wrong this year. If anything, this whole split backfield scenario might get even worse in 2026. Do not be surprised if that's the case. After that, we have Jordan Love at the 510, Baker Mayfield at the 511, CMC, Jamison Williams, and Kyron Williams. I like JMO there at the 601. Style says, any concerns about Hendo going into next year with his lack of usage in the playoffs so far? Yeah, I think it's difficult to judge with Henderson because clearly the Patriots versus the Broncos, that weather, they were not going to use Henderson heavily. They had the bigger back in, and Stevenson's not been a bad running back as much as the bad PR he's gotten. He's not been a bad running back, but that weather on Sunday, there was just not a chance they weren't going to run the ball every single time with Stevenson. Nobody could kick a 30-yard field goal, right? It was a game of inches, truly. And I think that is really more of an outlier to Travion Henderson's work than an expectation moving forward, especially as he progresses one year to the next. I would view him as a buy if anyone's like really concerned. I would be shocked if you don't see a much larger usage for him in the Super Bowl. Okay, so we get a big run of running backs here with Kyron, Saquon, Harvey, Brown coming off the board. I am on the clock. I am going to keep building my wide receiver room. I think my highest ranked receiver would be Luther Burden. So I will go ahead and grab Luther Burden here, who, obvious my guy from last year. You guys know this if you've been a subscriber of the channel. He was my wide receiver 1 in the 2025 class if we're looking 365 days ago, right? 365 days ago, before draft capital, Burden was my wide receiver 1 at this point. I get him here at the 606. Adunze goes at the 410. I believe they should be closer than that. But you definitely see, a very clear growth in his game to end the seaon, right? That first 8 weeks barely being used. Olamide Zaccheaus was, really making it impossible for him to shine. Second half of the year, you start to see him really break out. I started him in the Flock League week 17. If you guys don't remember that, that was fun. He had 8 catches, 138 yards, and a touchdown. I really think the future of this team, you're not going to see much DJ Moore. It's going to be a heavy dose of Burden, Loveland, Odunze. And if you're telling me Burden is the cheapest to get into this core, between Loveland and Odunze by 2 rounds, I'm going to do that a lot this offseason. I will do that a whole lot. I didn't expect him with so much around him to compete with to be the guy straight away year one, but I've seen more than enough signs that point me towards, hey, this guy's going to do something special. I would love to actually just go back and just compare him to JSN's rookie year. I would argue that Burden had far more competition as a rookie than JSN did. JSN was dealing with the back end of Tyler Lockett's career, prime DK Metcalf. It's not at all shocking that these numbers aren't too far off. You look at a Burden and a JSN's rookie season, 9 points per game compared to 8.5. JSN had a higher target share, but again, I think he had less competition. Imagine you added a first-round tight end to Seattle the same year. Oh, and by the way, DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett scenario. But the yards per target, yards per route run, super effective, super efficient, just not on the field enough as a rookie. 14 routes per game. JSN was right there around 27, 28. So I think we're right on track with Luther Burden. If you drafted Luther Burden, if you're a Burden guy, I think we're right on track. Not to say that he's ever going to reach JSN status, but I think we're right on track with his career arc, with where you want him to be. All right, Zay Flowers at the 607. There's been a lot of conversation about Zay Flowers. I want to give him his flowers. I guess no pun intended there. Career highs in points per game. Career high in targets per game. Receiving yards per game. Receptions per game. Yards per target. Target share. It's just so hard because anybody who owns Zay Flowers from weeks 1 to 13, there wasn't a single week where you felt like you could start him with any confidence. So I'm trying to understand, how do I weigh up the week 14 to 18 stretch versus what we saw for the majority of the season? And I don't know what the answer is to that yet, but you certainly could be getting a steal there. Harold Fannin at the 608, A.J. Brown, Waddle, Hunter, Jacobs, Kraft, Ward. I personally think Stroud and Ward are probably a little bit too high here. I'm not anti-Stroud, but I think that's a little too early. I also think Kraft is going too late. I mean, this guy was breaking out, was on track to be a top 3 to 4 tight end last year before the injury. And all indications tell us he should be ready to go week 1. But, yeah. The 106 finally comes off the board. Wow, I just realized Michael Wilson went ahead of the 106. Wow. Okay. I don't know what to do with that information. I think the best value on the board right now is probably Devonta Smith. So that's where I'm going to go. I'll grab Devonta Smith in round 7. And wouldn't you know it, we're starting to build out a squad here, guys. No quarterback in the first 2 rounds. We've got Mahomes, Goff, Bijan as our anchor. We've got London, McConkey, Burden, Devonta Smith. I'm liking the squad we're building up here. Casanova says, I'm a believer. Down with Marvin Harrison. Oh, jeez. Oh, geez. That's a really difficult situation to evaluate. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not going to talk out of my ass. The Marvin and Michael Wilson situation is not easy to wrap your head around right now. I'm not sure either of them are a buy for me. And I'll explain that in an upcoming video. That's all I'll say. I'll leave a little teaser there. We get a little run of picks here, which I think is pretty accurate. I did think that the 107, 106 probably should have gone before, you know, Michael Wilson or some of these running backs. Scribble says, great value on Smith. Imagine an A.J. Brown trade. I know. That's what I'm thinking. If he ends up actually getting moved out of Philadelphia, then I'm feeling great about taking him here in round 7 as a wide receiver 4. All right. I wanted to bring back something to the streams. Last year, we introduced something called The Call. If any of you guys are in our Discord and you're a annual or you're a land member, as long as you're a land member and you've linked your Discord with the Flock site, then you should have access to what we have here called The Call. And all this does is basically it gives you an opportunity to call into the live stream and hit me with a question. And I want to let y'all know that I want to revive this. I had so much fun doing this last year, hearing from you guys. Obviously, we see your comments, we see you in the chat, and I love that. But there's something so fun about hearing your voice and kind of having you call into the show as if it was like some radio, you know, show. So shout out to Jonah here who submitted a voice message. All you have to do, again, if you're a member with the promo code LAND is, you know, obviously join Discord, link it with the Flock site, and then submit a voice message. It can be 10 seconds. It can be a minute and a half. It can be about anything that you want it to be. But I'm going to play Jonah's message here in a second because I kind of want to bring this back. I want it to be a thing. And I can't do that without your guys' help. It's just fun. I think it's fun talking to you guys and hearing from you. Here in the 8th round, DK Metcalf does come off the board. Michael Pittman off the board. I've got a clear next 2 that I'm going to draft. I was hoping that my life would be made easier there. I'll go Travis Etienne as my RB2 there in the 8th as a free agent. Okay, let's hear from Jonah. This is Jonah.
What's good, fam? Hope you're all doing well. Just wanted to call in and say, Zach, you need to stop talking about Kenneth Walker. Not in a bad way, but I'm trying to buy this man low in every league. And you're just popping off about him on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's not helping my case as to buying him low. Let's go on the down low about this. We don't need people overreacting to Kenneth Walker being the running back that we always thought he could be.
Yeah.
All right, take care. Thanks.
All right, look, Jonah, first off, I'm going to heart that, so make sure I recognize we've done that one. But thanks for calling in. I always love hearing from you guys. And I think it's fair because I brought Ken Walker as a buy low about 2 weeks ago, and this was right before the Zach Charbonnet injury. Obviously, the Charbonnet injury is going to make it harder to buy Ken Walker at this point. And I've been very vocal about buying all free agent running backs, Ken Walker obviously being one of them. I told you guys earlier that when I bought Ken Walker at this price here at the 111, that was before the Charbonnet injury, and that was before their first playoff game. He is going to be more expensive now. It's kind of unfortunate because I would have bought him regardless. I'm very high on buying the free agent class this year. So naturally, maybe I'm part of the problem, but I think the market has probably adjusted already. I think if you want Ken Walker, you're probably going to have to start paying the 107, 108 prices at minimum. I don't think like late first is going to get it done anymore. The market has definitely shifted on him, in my opinion. But yeah, I hope that for all of us buying Ken Walker, it's a James Cook scenario where once the Bills paid James Cook, they said, all right, we're going to let you be the complete feature of our backfield. I hope that's the case. Obviously, we cannot guarantee that, but that is best case scenario. But yeah, I love hearing from you guys. Definitely call in if you want to say anything and you've got that access to that Discord. All right, I take ETN there as my RB2 in the 806. We've also got Daniel Jones coming off the board. I just made a trade. I traded DK Metcalf and some late picks for Daniel Jones and some late picks. I did that in the Juliet League. So it's cool to see them kind of going back-to-back pretty much in this draft. Let me show you guys that. I'd be curious to know your guys' thoughts on this trade that I just created. So essentially what we did is we got Daniel Jones in a 27 third, and we sent DK Metcalf, the 309, the 404, and the 402 in this year's class. And the reason I did that is because I feel really good about the receiver core I already have here. Puka, London, Higgins, Jamison, Burden. We got Jordan Addison on the waiver or on the bench. I like the running back room of Judkins, Scattaboo, Dobbins, Swift, JCM. We've got Kraft. We've got Loveland. But I wanted another quarterback kind of in the rotation with Daniel Jones, Kyler Murray, Darnold, and Stafford. So that's why I made the pick. I didn't want to go all in on a quarterback necessarily unless it was one that I loved. But I wanted to kind of pivot. And in my opinion, Daniel Jones is a great buy right now because I don't see a scenario where Indianapolis doesn't sign him long-term. They're not in a position to replace him or get a franchise quarterback. I think they sign him long-term, and I think when they do, his value goes up. So that's why I'm an advocate of buying him at this point. Yeah, Jonah, that was fun. Thanks for calling in, bro. Thanks for calling in. Mike says, I'm trying to buy all free agent running backs. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Okay, after Matthew Golden comes off the board, I am about to be next. Kyle Pitts and Travis Etienne were two names I was heavily considering there in the 8th round. I'm really worried about Kyle Pitts because if he re-signs, it's a new coaching staff. And if he doesn't, what is a new team going to feature him as? So I'm a little bit concerned. I don't know exactly what to think about that situation. Excuse me. Okay. Man, there is just no clear next pick here, is there? Would be George Kittle, but coming off that Achilles, I don't know what to do coming off that Achilles. I am not obsessed with this point of the board. I think I'll just take an asset that I'm not obsessed with, but that I don't think can lose value. 201 is already very undervalued, or not even undervalued, but it's not worth very much. I don't think it's going to lose any value from here until the draft. I'll just take the 201 there and make that decision later. As we get Jaden Higgins off the board as well as Brenton Strange next. Stafford in the 9th. Kyler in the 9th. Talks about Kyler Murray on today's video as well. We've got Mr. Ghost, who is just going hard on the 26 class. Going hard. He's got the 101, the 103, the 108, the 110, and the 202. Over 50% of his startup is currently the 2026 class. That would really concern me. I got to be honest, that's really concerning. What's up, EB? He says, do you think Daniel Jones will run less when coming back from his injury? I could see that being a possibility, certainly. You know, the difference between Kirk Cousins and the Achilles, Aaron Rodgers and the Achilles with Daniel Jones is a younger player. So he'll be 29 this year. It will be easier for his body to recover, and he has a longer lifeline to kind of refine that form, if you will, as a rushing threat. Jonah says, if Daniel Jones isn't re-signed to Indy, where would be the ideal landing spot for you? Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good question. Minnesota is a good shout. Let me look at that right after I make this pick. Oh, man. I think Terry McLaurin's getting undervalued now. I'll take Scary Terry here in the 10th. All right. If Daniel Jones doesn't re-sign in Indianapolis, where would be a good fit for him? I don't think they let him go, to be clear. I think he's a Colt. I think it's almost written in Sharpie at this point. Obviously, wouldn't like him with the Jets. Wouldn't love him with the Dolphins. That might be Ryan Tannehill 2.0. Wouldn't love him with the Browns. I mean, yeah, the Vikings would make a ton of sense. Falcons, I wouldn't be opposed to like a Falcons idea either. I wouldn't be opposed to him going to the Falcons. That would be a pretty sweet setup. Getting to dump the ball off to Bijan or throw it deep to Drake. Underneath to Kyle if Kyle comes back. Honestly, Arizona's low-key interesting to me as well. With McBride there, Marvin and Michael Wilson. I don't think Arizona's a bad spot either. But again, I think the most likely scenario here is he's back in Indianapolis. I'd almost guarantee that. All right, so Sutton goes at the 10:01, then Warren, Worthy, Kittle, Monangai, Terry, Watson, Benson, and Mr. Juan Dale. Steelers? Oh, why didn't I say the Steelers? Steelers, would that be interesting? I think I would hate that. What, would you guys like the Steelers for Daniel Jones? I think I would hate that for some reason. I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with me. I just don't think I would enjoy seeing that. I think that would upset me. I think that's maybe like one of the worst case scenarios. I think that's, yeah, not ideal if I was being honest with you guys. Woody Marks coming off the board finally at the 10-10. Dalton Kincaid, Johnston, Alec Pierce. Bashul Tootin in the 11th. That seems like a pretty good value, especially if these rumors about Etienne not coming back are true. I definitely like that idea. Oh, tight end is gross. Tight end is just absolutely disgusting, isn't it? CB says no more Arthur Smith. That's fair. That is a fair observation. Ideally, you would assume no Arthur Smith is going to be a positive. I don't. Addition by subtraction, if you will. I'm not giving up on Penix yet. No. I think they probably roll with Penix again this year in Atlanta. Speaking of the devil, Michael Penix comes off the board there at the 11:05. Wow. This part of the board is rough. Jeez Louise, dude. I almost feel like you have to go a rookie pick here. I'm not opposed to taking a shot on one of these quarterbacks instead. J.J. McCarthy had probably one of the worst starting years you've ever seen. First, you know, it was honestly worse than Anthony Richardson. But we're in the 11th round. I am comfortable taking a risk there compared to all the other options. I will say, any Viking fans out there, you guys have got to be sick. Vikings and Jets fans have got to be sick to their stomach thinking about Sam Darnold. Oh my gosh, leading this team to the Super Bowl. Shout out to Sammy, man. Congratulations. All right, Chuba in the 11th. Other notable names, Charbonnet coming off the ACL tear. He's going to be a hard name to move. And honestly, Charbonnet, it's unfair, but you have to start thinking about next year with Charbonnet. You have to think about free agency in 2027 because he tears his ACL about as late as you possibly can. I don't imagine he's available for the majority of the 2026 season. And then you think, oh, well, then he's a free agent. I might be all the way out on Charbonnet. I might be as far out as I possibly can be. Y'all let me know if I'm reading it the wrong way, though. Scribble says, Zach, be honest with me. Have you seen a worse wide receiver than Xavier Legette? Oh, jeez. Don't make me be mean. It's certainly not ideal. Certainly not an ideal scenario for the lad. Godwin's an obvious value here, but to kind of wrap stuff up, I'll draft Terrence Ferguson here, one of my favorite sleeper tight ends heading into next season. Easy guy to go ahead and kind of make a bet on in that offense. So this is the squad that we ended up rolling with here through 12 rounds. We have Mahomes, Goff, Bijan, Etienne, London, McConkey, Ferguson, Burden, Devonta. On the bench, we have Terry, the 201, and JJ McCarthy. I got to say, obviously the tight end position is not figured out there. If we were to go further rounds, then, I'd have veterans I could put in there. Goddard, Travis, Jawan, Hunter Henry, whatever. I think I could have figured it out. I think this team is competing for the playoffs, though. I think that's a team that's probably competing for the playoffs. Scribble says you killed it. No glaze. I'll take all the glaze I can get. All right. As much as you want to shower me with praises, I'm not going to stop you from doing that. Guys, I appreciate you so much being here with me. If you didn't hear earlier on in the stream, this is an opportunity for you to win a live team playbook today. All you have to do to enter that giveaway is simply like the stream and then type Senior Bowl, all one word. And then you'll be automatically entered into today's giveaway. And we will do that here very soon. All right. So the expert consensus has me ranked 5th after this draft. Where would my own rankings have me? My own rankings have me ranked 1st. Who would have thought? I feel pretty good about that. So who do the experts have number 1? They have Terps number 1. Terps ends up with May, Herbert, Brees, Jacobs, Henry, McMillan, Hunter, Adams, Johnston, Warren. I do think there's some question marks in that wide receiver room. Travis Hunter, man, I want to have a conversation about him. It's just, we were honest with you guys last offseason, and I'll be honest with you guys again. Last offseason, I said, I really cannot tell you how this is going to pan out. We have no idea if injuries happen to cornerback, what his usage will look like. I've never had to be in a situation where I've had to ask how much defense will a guy play that I'm drafting in non-IDP leagues. And we're still here asking the same question. If anything, I think it's more difficult. I think it's more difficult to bet on Travis Hunter because they traded for Jacoby Myers. Brian Thomas is a good player. He'll be better next year. Parker Washington is starting to break out. I think Hunter's a strong hold, but how do I say? If I knew that Travis Hunter was going to be featured as a receiver next year, I would be so far in as a buy, it wouldn't even be funny. But because we don't know what his role will be, he is almost impossible to project. Almost impossible. And who knows? If they don't go out there and make a trade for Jacoby Myers and Travis Hunter stays healthy, I mean, maybe we're at a point right now where we're talking about Travis Hunter as a top 12 wide receiver in Dynasty. Right? I mean, it's almost impossible to really say. So many things there's so many shoulds, could'ves, buts. So it's not an easy situation to digest. That's for damn sure. But as always, I appreciate you guys being here and having conversations with me. It's always fun shooting the shit with you. But let's go ahead and let's do this giveaway. We currently have 26 entries. All you had to do to enter was like the stream and type Senior Bowl. All one word. That's all, as simple as it is. I'll give you guys one last shot to do that before we do this giveaway, and then I'll jump into some playbooks we need to do. Okay. Let's see. Brian Thomas Jr. can't be older than 24, 25. No, I don't think he's that old. Yeah. How old is Brian? Let's go and look. I think he's probably like 22, 23, something like that. He is 23. He's 23 years old. He'll be 24 this time next year, obviously. Quick math. CB says, I think Hunter is playing primarily corner and he'll have packages on offense. That's what I heard, which is very concerning. Scribble says, I feel like if you're out on Hunter, you better be buying Brian Thomas everywhere because Myers is 30. That's a fair observation. It's a very fair observation. I think Brian's going to bounce back. I mean, I don't think he was ever healthy. I don't think he was ever truly healthy. But you can't show me what he did in 2024. And I mean, look at that. Look at week 11 onwards, guys, in 2024. I know it was Mac Jones, but basically 10 targets or more per game. 100 receiving yards, around that mark in most games. About a touchdown per game in that span. I don't believe that player doesn't exist anymore. I don't believe that he's just completely evaporated. And I think, saying, well, it was Mac Jones is just too simplified. I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. I could be wrong. A lot of you guys are saying you think Parker Washington's going to have a bigger role. I love me some Parker Washington, so I could see that. I definitely think Brian bounces back. Yeah. I definitely think he's going to bounce back. He's just too good of a player. All right, let's do this giveaway. 36 entries. 36 entries. Good luck to everybody. Again, this is to win a live team playbook. And we're going to go ahead and spin the wheel. Congratulations to... You get a car. The name is Terps1502. So Terps1502, congratulations. All you got to do to claim your free playbook voucher is DM me on Discord. There's my username. I need a screenshot of your YouTube account. And I need you to tell me your Flock Fantasy username. And I'll make sure and hook you up, my friend. I'll make sure and hook you up and get you all good to go. Okay, we are going to jump into some team reviews and some trade questions. Appreciate y'all being here with me. I'm going to go through the trade questions first on the Flock site, and then we'll get to some of those team playbooks as well. I think I've got like 4 or 5 in the queue today. Let's have a look at some of these trades. So first one is a trade question from RCG Yoda. They would send the 201, the 309, and Theo Johnson for Tucker Kraft. I don't know how you guys view this. That's the 13th best player in the 26 class. It's not that I hate that player. I'm not that interested in the 201 this year compared to previous years. And Tucker Kraft is an easy no-brainer buy here, in my opinion. It's a non-tight end premium. I don't really care. The 309 is not worth much to me. I think the 309 and Theo Johnson are probably roster cloggers, so they don't really make a difference when I'm looking at a trade like this. I'm very comfortably taking Tucker Kraft here and calling it a day. What's up, really buff kitty? This is an interesting one. They would send away Dak Prescott and Rashee Rice for Jaden Daniels. Interesting. Dak Prescott and Rashee Rice for Jaden Daniels. So if they did this move, they would have a quarterback room of Dak, Mahomes, Willis, Jones. Their running back room currently has CMC, Henry, Jacobs, Gibbs. That's a really good running back room. At wide receiver, they've currently got JSN, Olave, and that's where the room really falls off. At tight end, they have McBride. Doesn't look like you have any firsts in the future. Right now, you're a start 9. So let's just go through your start 9. You would be starting right now without doing this trade. Jaden Daniels, Patrick Mahomes, Gibbs and McCaffrey, JSN, Olave, that's 7. 8 would be McBride. And you only need to start one more name. So the one other name that you could start would either be Gadsden, Watson, Godwin, Jacobs, Henry. I don't personally think you need to make this move. I'd love to hear what the chat thinks about this. I view Jaden Daniels as a really good buy low right now. You know, you're in this win window based off of how your draft capital looks. But I would personally hold on to Jaden Daniels here. I don't think... I'd be comfortable trading for Jaden Daniels here. I think you've got the depth to do it. And then if you need to tear down from Jaden Daniels, let's say a bunch of injuries occur and you're in that win now window, I think you've got enough assets to tear down anyway. So, yeah, if this was a start 11, maybe I'd have a different opinion. But I'm pretty comfortable to go ahead and take the Jaden Daniels side of this. All right, we got a question here from Dustin. What's up, Dustin? It's a Superflex 12-team start 10. He says, basically 0 draft capital until 28, runner up last year. Run it back or make this deal. It is best ball. It's a best ball league. I love Bucky Irving. I think you're going to find it hard for me to tell you to accept this trade, though. Let's see. In a start 10 Superflex league, you've got Mahomes, Shucks, Sanders, May. You've got Judkins, Hampton. That's not a lot at running back, honestly. Warren, Judkins, Hampton, Warren, JCM. That's not a lot at running back. At receiver, you've got Jefferson right now, London, Higgins, McMillan. And then at tight end, you've got McBride and Warren. I don't think you really need to make a move, to be honest. I think you're fine. It's best ball. Your start 10 would right now would be some combo of Mahomes, May, Hampton, Judkins. I forgot Garrett Wilson's there even. But let's say Garrett Wilson, London. You're starting McBride. You have to flex 3 names now. Those 3 names are McMillan, Higgins, and Warren. I can understand why you'd want to make this move to increase your depth. I don't think you necessarily need to. I think this is selling probably at a bad time on Jefferson. I think it's a bad time to sell him. I am not anti-Bucky Irving. Obviously, y'all know I love George Pickens. But I don't like this execution right now. So I'd probably lean towards holding Jefferson on this deal. Okay. Those are all the trades. So we are going to jump into some team playbooks here. I did drop a pinned comment there in the chat. If you guys are wanting to get a team playbook, there's 3 options on the site. If you're an annual Mother Flocker member, you get a live team playbook by default. That's our tier 1. Priority Pass lets you skip the queue, and the Pro Pass lets you double your playbooks. You guys can check that out in the pinned comment. Let me know if you guys have any questions whatsoever. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the docket today. Of course, with the Priority Pass, you can jump yourself to the top of the queue. Okay, let's just double check. Do we have any Priority Passes today? Yes, we do. We do have a couple, so I'll look at that. Okay. What do you guys think about Jefferson? Do you agree with me? Do you think he's a buy low right now? Are you comfortable to sell him? Are you worried about the price? I feel like he's a strong hold at this moment. Mike says he's holding, so he's right there with me. Okay. Let's go ahead and we've got Dan, who's got the Pro Pass. We've got 2 from Dan. So we're gonna go to Dan first because he's gonna skip the queue there with the Pro Pass. Shout out to you, Dan. Thanks for showing some love to the stream. Let's see. Okay. Shall we dive in? All right, Dan. This is a super flex 10-team start 10, which is our middle ground. So that's a pretty good starting lineup there. You can start up to, I think, 5 receivers in a format like this. Dan says, made some moves already this offseason. Really just want to know what to do with the abundance of picks I have this year, considering the class isn't the best. I have a lot of interest in the 101 from others. What would be enough for me to move off? Okay. Your team name is Fantasy Allegation Nation. You're currently ranked 5th. You've got a quarterback room of Mahomes, Burrow, Darnold. That's a fantastic quarterback room. Really is. Running back room's a little weaker there with Bucky, Harvey. Charbonnet or Monongai being your RB3. Not the strongest running back room there. At receiver, again, not very strong. Waddle, Brown, Johnston, Loveland at tight end. So the quarterback and tight end room's obviously very strong. Running back and wide receiver is where you really fall off. And my gosh, do you have a ton of draft picks in 2026. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 draft picks in 2026. Not ideal. Let's just start there. Not ideal to have that many picks in this class. Yeah. Don't love that. That's okay. All right. A team like this, you have your 27 first. You're going to add Jeremiah Love. It's a 10-team league. Everybody's teams are going to be better at the top than your 12-team league. Yeah, like you've got to compete with someone like this. That's going to be tough. In a start 10, for you, it's Mahomes, Burrow, Love, Bucky, Waddle, Brown, Loveland. You have to start 3 more names. Harvey's one of them. Whoever you get the 105, I don't know. I honestly think you could go either way with this team. I think I would lean a 1-year punt though. This is pretty close. I'm going to give you the in or out tag which I haven't done much this offseason because I truly think you can go either way here. I would give this team a B flat. Yeah. I think you're a B flat. Main path forward as of today, in or out, which means you can go either option. I mean, you can go into the season planning to contend, and then by midseason, you can easily turn into a seller if things aren't going your way. You probably have enough to make the playoffs. I'm not 100% convinced that you have enough to be a serious contender. Untouchables on this roster, there's not really any, but Mahomes and Burrow would be the closest. I would definitely hold names like Malik Willis, Rashad White, Caleb Johnson, Jalen Noel. You could drop names like Jalen Wright if you want to clear up some room. Your waiver wire is not very interesting. I looked at it earlier. Names like Michael Mayer, Treylon Burks. There's just not a lot there on the waiver wire that is that interesting to me. So, yeah, you're in a really interesting position because I think there's so many different ways that you could take this roster. So we'll look at all your options and we'll kind of digest them together. Why don't we make a plan for your rookie draft, my friend? Let's jump into the war room here. You got a lot of picks. I went ahead and combined the 307, the 308, 309, 310, 401, 408. You know, those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picks, but the plan is not going to change. Just like those picks are not going to be a big part of what you do this year. Obviously, if you stick and pick, you're going to add Jeremiah Love. He fits your timeline no matter what. If you plan on contending this year or not, he fits your timeline. At the 105, yeah. I think you're in a position where ideally you're not getting Mendoza. Ideally, you're getting one of the big 3 wide receivers, which is Lemon, Tyson Tate, excuse me. And honestly, like if you were to get one of those guys and they were productive straight away, you could have a legitimate chance to compete this year. That's why I'm saying it really can go either way. You need to be a little bit fluid. I mean, imagine you end up with, let's just say it's a Lemon, just as an example, and he's productive straight away. Well, your starting lineup then becomes Mahomes, Burrow, Love, Bucky, Lemon, Waddle, Loveland. You're flexing A.J. Brown and R.J. Harvey. And then your last flex is a Jawan Jennings, a Christian Watson, a Coker, a Knoll, a Monangai, a Rashad White if he gets the role. So there's definitely a possibility for you to compete. Those late picks, way too early to know who will be the BPA, but you'll know that in my rookie report. Okay, if you want to trade the 101, I mean, you got to get an absolute haul. Either way. I don't really think you should. You need a foundational piece on this team already, whether you're going to rebuild or compete straight away. This team needs a foundational name. And you don't really have that outside of your quarterbacks. So I'd be hesitant to trade this. Yeah, I just don't think it makes sense for you to trade this pick the more I think about this. If you're going to trade it, I would want to trade it to like the worst teams in the league. Like Philly Cheese, for example. If you could hypothetically land their 104 plus their 27 first plus their, you know, a Cam Scattaboo or something, then sure. If you can get a haul like that, then it makes sense. But, or let's say you got their 27 and their 28 first. You know, those kind of deals would make sense. Don't go beyond the 105 there. Like, I'm not doing that for the 107. I'm certainly not trading the 101 for like the 107, 110, and some garbage. But I don't think there's many teams that make sense making a deal with. And the 101 to the 102 is a huge drop off. So you can't just go from the 101 to the 102 and get, you know, Xavier Worthy or something. It has to be still a significant return. The 105 I would only sell if you're going to get, you know, a young player that we really love that you can build around. So For example, at the 105, if you're going to get a Brian Thomas, a Luther Burden plus, a Rome Adunze, an Emeka Egbuka, these type of names, I don't even know if Olave makes sense with what we're trying to do, but he would certainly help you compete straight away if that's the goal you have in mind. And then the 307 to the 408, I would look at trading for future picks. So that means, hypothetically, can you trade your 408 and can you move it for a future fourth, in 27 and 28? Kind of re-roll there, if that makes sense. But I think I kind of lean towards sticking and picking here. I don't think I lean towards trading these picks away because, again, I want to keep that flexibility that we mentioned, in season, to have that flexibility to either compete or rebuild. So I like this plan so far. Dan, I think this is the right direction to kind of take you in. But let's go to the chalkboard, shall we? And we're going to keep giving you great ideas for the team. But now we're going to just look at, okay, so if you are a seller, here's what you would do. If you are a buyer, here's what you would do. And again, this is at like the half point of the season. So as a seller, obviously you could sell a name like an A.J. Brown. You could sell a name like a Jalen Waddle. These are all guys that clearly, if you're not going to compete by mid-season, you're probably wanting to move on from those guys. Mahomes is kind of perfect for a one-year punt. A Tracy, a Johnston, Juwan Jennings. These are the type of names that you would be looking to sell. I almost think like Malik Willis as well after free agency. I think you could look to sell him. As a buyer, yeah, the problem is I don't want you to use those early picks. I wouldn't personally use those early picks to trade for a vet. I want to stay fluid. And then I don't think you should send your 27 first. You could send some of these 27 seconds, though. Oh my gosh, you have so much draft capital. Your draft capital is ridiculous, dude. But as a buyer, you could send some 27 seconds away because you have almost all of them in your league. I'm trying to think of names that can make sense. You need a veteran running back and a veteran receiver, really. So at running back, can you send that 27 second? Can you go get a Javonte Williams? Right? Again, this is if you want to be a buyer. Can you get a Derrick Henry? This is where things get tough. A Derrick Henry. Can you send 2 seconds or a 27 third for a Travis Etienne? Does that cost two seconds? You'll know that better than me. Can you send 27 seconds for Etienne and a 27 third? Those are the type of deals I think you could negotiate. There's a scenario here where Rachaad White actually ends up being a starter in free agency as well, so that could help you. Veteran receivers, 27 second. Could you send that for a Devontae Adams? A Terry McLaurin? Those are the names that I think make the most sense right now. Yeah, Devontae Adams, we said, Terry McLaurin. These names, again, would make a ton of sense if you're wanting to go and be a buyer right here today. But if you're going to sell A.J. Brown, ideally you want, any first in any year. Obviously, the higher you get, the better. Same for Jalen Waddle. For Tracy, I think you would take, a mid to late second. I think for Jennings, you'd be looking at a mid-second. You've already got a lot of seconds. Maybe you try and package Jennings in a future year. But that would be my game plan for you. Again, I prefer to kind of stay a little bit more even keel this offseason and kind of see how things plan out with the draft heading into the year. If you get some productive rookies straight away, you've got plenty of draft capital in 27 to boost the roster. You know, is there a Wan'Dale Robinson this year in 26 who's super cheap that you can buy and he can just put, you know, production in your lineup? There's totally a scenario if Bucky stays healthy, AJ still, you know, is competitive. Waddle is the wide receiver 1. You've got good quarterback rooms. If Loveland breaks out again in year 2, there's totally a scenario here where you can compete. So hopefully that is helpful. Appreciate you big time, my dude. Thanks for showing some love to the show. I'm going to give you that playbook voucher because you got the BOGO, obviously, with the Pro Pass. So I want to honor that for you. So you will have that Pro Pass already in your inbox. Keep in mind, you cannot upgrade your Pro Pass to a Pro Pass again, okay? So you can't get the voucher from the Pro Pass and then upgrade it to a Pro Pass. You can't upgrade it to a Priority Pass if you'd like to, though. In fact, I think you did that with a previous one. So let's jump into the next review. I'm jumping to you again because you bought the Pro Pass here for another review. So you skipped the queue with that Priority Pass. What's up, Chris? Welcome in. What's up, Alan? Welcome into the building, brother. I think you're talking about the startup we did earlier, which, you know, I can see where you're coming from. JT is definitely the better guy to try and go out and win right now with. So that's a fair observation. All right, back-to-back reviews here for Dan. Dan the man. Appreciate you, Dan. The Commanders are hiring Vikings defensive back coach Durante Jones as their new defensive coordinator. Do we have any Vikings fans? Should I have any feelings about this? Tell me, is this a good move for Washington Commander fans? Or is it kind of just, it is what it is? I want to hear from y'all. Okay. All right, let's jump into Dan's second review here. This is another 10, start 10. So this is the middle ground again. Dan says, I feel like I can compete next year if some of my top players turn it around this year, as well as any upside players taking a jump. Do I hold steady with what I got or make some moves? His team name is Hurts Butt Rush. You're currently ranked 3rd. A lot less capital in this one. So, might be a little bit easier to navigate a review like this. Let's have a look. Again, Superflex start 10. So, we are starting Lamar Jackson, Caleb Williams. It's a good one too. Travion and Walker, not the strongest running back room. Olave, Burden, I like these guys, but not the strongest wide receiver room. No tight end you're really obsessed with there at the top. And then you got to start 3 more names, and I don't know where those 3 names come from. Lab McConkey, Godwin, maybe Ayuk if he comes back, maybe whatever you get, the 103. This team is a little bit more difficult to navigate because I don't think you're a serious contender this year. You need a lot to go right if you were. Like, you would need Caleb Williams to bounce back, Jonathan Brooks, Bryce Young. You need Jaden Higgins to break out, Ayuk to come back to form, Parker Washington to stay in form. You need one of those tight ends to be relevant. And there's certainly no guarantee of that happening. So, instantly, I kind of don't want to be a middling team. I am going to push towards a 1-year punt for this one. And I would give this team probably C plus B minus grade. Yeah. So we're going to go 1-year punt. And that doesn't mean we have to sell off all of our good players, but I just want to be in a position next year to to be a real serious contender. And be patient with this team. Doesn't mean you have to sell everyone off right now after you watch the stream and after you see the review. But I certainly think that patience will be helpful. The only untouchable on this team is probably Lamar Jackson, but even he is becoming touchable in trades. I would definitely hold on to names like Jonathan Brooks, Caleb Johnson, Jaden Higgins, Jake Tonjes is worth holding on to after the Kittle injury. On the waiver wire, because you're in a Superflex league, I think Watson probably should be rostered, Deshaun Watson. He's going to be healthy. He's going to be on contract for Cleveland. That doesn't mean I think he's going to be a good quarterback, but I just think there's probably value there. And then Treylon Burks is like a fun name if you had space and you wanted to kind of pick him up and I guess kind of play around with the idea of what could he do for the end of your bench. Okay, considering we're a 1-year punt, let's jump into the war room. Let's come up with a game plan for your rookie draft. At the 103, you're going to get one of the big three, right? Which is, well, this is super flex. So it's either Fernando Mendoza or one of the big three. All right, so like we said last time, Lemon, Tate, Tyson. I don't really mind because we're punting which one of those you get. So you might be a candidate to trade back. You just want to accumulate the most value possible. Obviously, at the end of the draft, we have no idea BPA for the 411. And you can use that, ideally, trade for any future pick if you can kind of re-roll that. So if that means you send the 411 for, let's say, a 27 fourth, that's ideal to kind of re-roll. But if we were to trade the 103, I want to explore this idea. Is there a team out there that makes sense? You don't want to go beyond the 105. Team number, the first ranked team in your league has the 104. So for example, I love this middling piece here, like the 104 plus Ricky Pearsall. And ideally, he breaks out this year and can stay healthy. He's certainly getting open. Can he just stay healthy? Do you have to throw something on that? Depends on how desperate the guy is to get the player ahead of you. But, do you have to throw on an Isaiah Pacheco to make that happen? I don't mind a deal like that if it gets the job done. Obviously, we can go the route of getting their future first, but I don't think they'd be willing to do that in this scenario. I also would love... I would be comfortable to do this. Honestly, might be crazy to say, but I'd be comfortable to do this just for like a Bashul Tootin. You're only moving back one spot. And of course, we can go the reality where you get like a future first. I don't think most teams are going to do this year. And then you send a future second. So those are all hypotheticals. I don't think all of them are realistic, but certainly worth exploring. Who has the 105? Who has the 105? Dr. Pepper, baby, it's good and nice. Dr. Pepper, baby. Don't go to the 106. You really don't want to go that far down. The 105 here. Yeah, I'm not sure anything really makes sense. I mean, Matthew Golden, kind of the same idea as like the Ricky Pearsall. I would personally be willing to do that. But there's not really anyone else on the team that I would be happy to kind of make a deal like this with. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anyone. I don't know. What do you guys think? I feel like that's probably the most you'd do there. Yeah, not doing it for Tyrone Tracy or Shador. Look, if you really don't have a preference, I don't think there's any harm in doing it for like a JJ McCarthy and just kind of, hey, if I really think that all these receivers are in the same tier and Mendoza and I don't care, you know, there's no harm that can be done there, really. This is supposed to be the 105. Sorry. Yeah. I think that makes sense. But that's a good plan. That's a lot more ideas than I thought we would have for you there, Dan. Okay. Let's jump to your chalkboard. This is your second chalkboard of the day. And let's just think through, again, as a one-year punt, are there any moves that would make sense for us? Unfortunately, Lamar Jackson is going to be harder to sell this offseason than last offseason. But I would just say, like, in season, we'll talk about moves. And then in the offseason, what are some realistic moves depending on where these players both are? Ken Walker is probably more of an in-season guy. He's going to get a contract, obviously. Maybe Godwin is like the only obvious sell. You don't have many obvious sells right now at this point of the offseason. I mean, nobody wants any of these names. Like, nobody wants TJ Hawkinson. Nobody wants Xavier Worthy. I mean, I guess Pacheco if you can get anything for him. But in season, you'd be looking to, you know, tear down from Lamar. So when we're looking at a tear down from Lamar, I'm thinking names like a Jackson Dart, a Nix, a Jackson Dart, a Nix, a Purdy. Let's see what those guys have. Let's come up with some custom ideas for you, brother. All right, who has Mr. Dart? Okay, search is not working. That's fine. We'll find it here. Dr. Pepper, baby, is good and nice. So Team Taz has Dart. So in this scenario, you'd be looking at like Dart plus a 27 first, you know, and Harold Fannin or something. And then, you know, maybe you'd have to give back, what, like a Jaden Higgins. Obviously, you don't want to give away a young player. Maybe Chris Godwin could get it done. I don't know. Hypothetically speaking here. Maybe you send a 27 second. You know, you want to... This is assuming, by the way, that Lamar Jackson recovers that, you know, elite top tier form. The guy who has Nix and Purdy is on the same team. But hypothetically, you'd go Nix, Egbuka in a first, or Nix, Thomas in a first. So it'd be Nix plus Emeka Egbuka plus a 27 first. You're probably going to have to send back a pick in these. But same idea here with Brian Thomas. And then same idea here with Brock Purdy. So let me show you what I'm saying here. So Purdy, but then Brian Thomas is also an option. If not Egbuka. Those would be the names that would make sense. You know, maybe if he had a Roma Dunze or something else, we could include them, but he doesn't. And you're not going to get McMillan there. You could also go Loveland in these. That's one other idea, I would say. Okay, hold on. So yeah, basically same idea, but with Loveland. Walker in season, I would say you'd be looking for a mid 27 first from a contender. Godwin, you'll take really any early 26 second or any future second. Obviously, with the weakness of this class, we'll take any second in any year for Isaiah Pacheco. But that'd be the game plan I have for you, my friend. Thanks for letting me look at the squad. Hopefully that was helpful. Back-to-back reviews for Mr. Dan. Appreciate you, Mr. Dan. Thanks for letting me look at the squad, brother. And you should be getting your playbooks here within the next 3 to 4 business days. 3 more to go. Appreciate y'all being here. Still got some room if you're looking to get a review today. No pressure. Okay. Tatum, I just commented. We found out that the Commanders are hiring Durante Jones as their defensive coordinator. Again, I have no idea who that is. So I'm kind of relying on you guys to tell me if this is a good hire or not, because I truly don't know. Durante Jones was interviewed by at least 5 teams for their DC opening this month. Clearly a highly coveted candidate. This is Field Yates. And a homecoming for Jones, who was born in Maryland. Okay. All right. I mean, I'm cool with it. Apparently, he was one of Brian Flores' most trusted defensive coaches. I'll take it. At this point, if Washington's defense can improve by 5%, I will take it. All right. Who's next? Do we have anyone else who's on a priority pass? I think we've got all regular playbooks here. So let's start from the top here with RC Yoga. Thanks for being an annual Mother Flock member, RC Yoga. Appreciate you. And let's have a geese. Boot Tootin' Buggy is the team name. You're currently ranked 2nd, but my gosh, there's a huge, just a massive difference between Team 1 and anyone else. I mean, Team 1, wow. It's another start 10, by the way. We've had so many of these. Wow. Look at that lineup outside of running back 2. That's going to be tough to compete with, but let's have a geese. 12-team league. Mahomes, Herbert, good 1-2 punch. No quarterback 3 there, obviously. Same thing about RB3. I like the top end of all your rooms outside of tight end. There's a ton of strength at top with this team and very little depth with this team, which is slightly concerning to me. Yeah, interesting. In a start 10, you'd be starting Mahomes, Herbert, Hampton, Brown, Amon-Ra, Neighbors. I guess likely. I don't know who at tight end. Hopefully Evans comes back. You still have to start 2 more names. If he does, Jeremiah Love. And then, I don't know. Who the hell else are you starting here? I don't think you have enough depth. This team is really weird. I don't really want to tell a team that has Mahomes, Herbert, Hampton, Chase Brown, Amon-Ra, Neighbors, Mike Evans to not compete. I just don't like the depth of this team. But I think we can compete if we make a couple moves. And that pretty much instantly puts you in the sleeper pathway for me. Couple moves and you could be right in there. I'd give your overall team grade probably a B-, C+. Yeah. Right there. I think you can compete if we make a couple of smart moves here. Untouchables would be like your Amon-Ra's, your Malik Neighbors. That's probably the closest thing you've got to an untouchable, in my opinion. Yeah. I don't think there's another untouchable on this roster. Yeah. I would definitely hold names like Tootin and JCM, especially with how weak your running back room is. You can drop the Tyrell Shavers of the world if you want. You know, you can drop Tyquan Thornton if you want. Ryan Flournoy should definitely be rostered, or should be ranked, excuse me. So let me make sure I add him, because he's definitely worthy of being in Dynasty rankings. Never know what could happen. I mean, if George Pickens doesn't re-sign, he could be an interesting name, worth discussing. Tyrell Shavers, though, you can cut. I don't think you need to worry about him. On the waiver wire, I don't remember there being anyone interesting here. I think I said Jordan James and Jarquez Hunter. I think they're worth looking at. I'd rather roster them than the guys we talked about cutting. Draft capital. You've got a decent amount of draft capital here. The 101 is going to make a big impact, obviously. And you could maybe even tear down from it if you wanted to make a big impact with the pick. I don't know. We'll have a look. We'll have a look at the war room and come up with a good game plan for you. But there's certainly flexibility here, I would say, on what your next move can be. I like where the team is, honestly. Even though I've only given you a C+, I think you've got flexibility here. I would definitely not sell your 27 first. I think you need to keep that flexibility. You don't have your 27 second. Don't love that, but it could be far worse. All right, let's jump to the war room. I love the way the war room looks, by the way, on the screen. I'm just looking at it now. Okay. At the 101, obviously, if you stick and pick, it's Jeremiah Love. We all know that. The 201, let's just say to the 201 to the 206, it's really the same range. I don't think anyone who has the 201 is like very desperate to, or the 206 is very desperate to trade up to the 201. Do you know what I mean? So I think you're probably in that same range. And right now, based off the indications I'm getting, let's see. What would be the main names in that area? Right now, I think you're looking at names like Katrin Allen, Jeremy Bernard, Ty Simpson, Antonio Williams, Jacoby Lane, Stowers, Bell. I don't think you're going to get Omar Cooper there anymore. Maybe Emmett Johnson if you're lucky, but it's kind of this huge range of names that could make sense. Beyond that, it's way too early to tell you anything. If you can trade those late first for, trade and packages, great. If you can get the job done. I mean, for example, if there's a trade that you really want to get done, but you need a little something extra to add on. That's kind of what I did in the Juliet League today. I wanted to add a quarterback. I felt like Jones and Metcalf were pretty much equivalent in value. I kind of just threw in these picks to make this deal happen. Again, because I don't value them very highly. So that's how that's like an example of what I'm trying to say there. Now, if you're going to sell Jeremiah Love, obviously you need an absolute haul. And for you, I would argue that it probably needs to revolve around a running back. Yeah. And a receiver. Like, I think you need one of these top running backs plus. So, hypothetically, I don't think you get Ashton Genty plus, but, if there was a world where you could get Ashton Genty plus Jameson Williams, sure. I'm sure in like 10% of leagues that's possible, but I don't think that's possible in most leagues. There are a lot of people who definitely are undervaluing Ashton Genty. But I think more realistic is like the Devon Achane route here, where you were to go Achane plus Fannin, and I would need a first. Right? And then maybe you could throw back something, like the 206 or something. See, that kind of deal is like the wheelhouse of where I would be looking to execute with that pick. That might be asking too much with Achane. It depends on the owner. I wouldn't do it for the 111 if you can't get a future first. I wouldn't do it for DK Metcalf or Kincaid. I wouldn't do it for Etienne. So fair enough if they're not willing to negotiate, but okay, like a Breece Hall 103 Pitts. Not completely opposed to it. I don't know. I'm not obsessed with that. Like if this truly ends up being a Jahmyr Gibbs level player, a Bijan Robinson level player at the 101, I think you may be underselling at that point. But how much more can you ask for? You know, can you ask for Garrett Wilson as well? And you send back Mike Evans in the 201 or something? You know, just thinking out loud. But yeah, that could definitely make sense with Breece Hall there. Taylor Egbuka. A Taylor Egbuka deal is not the worst idea. And let's go ahead and get rid of these for more room here. Jonathan Taylor plus Emeka Egbuka. I don't hate that personally. I'd be curious what the chat thinks about that, but I'm not opposed to it. That's if you want to go in and just say, "Hey, I'm gonna compete right now." Henderson McBride's a no-brainer, but that's not really possible. I don't love Henderson Thomas though. James Cook, Kraft. I don't know. I don't think that really works. I don't think that works. And I don't know that there's another option here. Yeah. Only other option I could think of would be Judkins, Burden, and the 104. So I'll write it down. But that's going to be hard to pull off, I think. Those are some ideas. You can completely just stick and pick, you know, stay in that sleeper range, keep that flexibility if you want to pivot to kind of rebuild in 2027. But those are the ideas that I would say make the most sense to me. And then, of course, we've got your chalkboard as well here. As a sleeper, I don't think there'll be as much action here on the chalkboard, but we'll talk about Mike Evans. Yeah, in fact, I think most of our work on the chalkboard is going to be what we mentioned here in the war room, because there's not really that much flexibility with this team right now. If you're going to stay in that sleeper mode and you're going to try and compete this year, then I think most of your flexibility would only open up if you decided to punt mid-year. Because, you know, I guess you could sell Chase Brown. Chase Brown would be a big name that you could get off this offseason. You know, if you can get a mid-27 first or something, that would definitely make sense. But I don't think you need to sell your quarterbacks. You can build around them. Doesn't make sense to sell Hampton. You know, the other idea maybe we can explore is like a tear down from Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'll just say, if you want to rebuild. And then we'll go war room ideas. Okay, so if you were to tear down from an Amon-Ra, well, is there a team that has a ton of wide receiver depth? Yeah, like this guy. So, for example, you get Tetero McMillan and a 27 first from team number one. And it needs to be early to mid. And he's got a ton of them, so, you know, that hypothetically could work. You could try that same idea with, I guess, Olave. I guess Olave could work. There's not going to be many people that you can tear down with, though, because that guy has an absolute stranglehold on your league. Yeah, like you could go Garrett Wilson 103. That could certainly be an option, because then you're basically going Garrett Wilson and like a Mekhi Lemon or something, you know. Egbuka, that guy doesn't have a 27 first, so that's not going to work. Yeah, you're really limited, man. You're really limited. That guy's just got such a chokehold on your league. But that is the game plan, my dude. That's a lot of options there. I hope that's helpful. I appreciate you big time. Thanks for letting me look at the squad. And you will get your playbook here within the next 3 to 4 business days. 2 more left on the day. Who is hanging out with me? Let me know who's in the chat. Let me know who I'm hanging out with. Who's here? I'm starting to drink this tea called Throat Coat. I don't know if anyone else has heard of it, but it's supposed to help your voice maintain. Okay, let's jump to the next review here. And in order, next one is in a breakfast. Breakfast, thanks for being an annual Mother Flocker member. Appreciate you big time. Let's have a look. It's another 10 team, but this time it's a start 9 Superflex. So you are our meat and potatoes. You're our meat and potatoes, all right? Okay, currently ranked 2nd, by the way. First time in Dynasty, traded away Justin Jefferson and Bryce Young. I guess this is what you got back, the 103, 203, and a 27 first. Okay. I don't know what to think about that. You trade away a lad for the 108, the 208. Okay. 101 secured by my doo-doo team. 4 first and 27. I think my window is 27, 28. Okay, look. I don't know how I feel about the first trade. I don't know. I'm indifferent on that. If that's a late 27 first, I think you might regret it. The lad trade for sure, I don't like. I definitely don't like the lad trade where you got the 108, if I'm reading that correctly. Javonte, I think, is pretty good value to get a first out of him. But you're currently ranked 2nd. Obviously, a lot of that is going to be because of your draft capital in 2026. You've got just an absolute mountain of assets. What's up, Ryan? He says, that's a heck of a year to have that many firsts. Yeah. That is a mountain. All right. So we've got Stroud and McCarthy. It's a super flex league. That's not a great start. We've got Bijan. No one else really. We've got Tet. This team is about as naked as it gets. I'd like to sit here and say this is a 1-year punt. You don't want to be rebuilding too long. But I got to say, this is a full rebuild for me. I don't think you're anywhere near being a serious contender. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 firsts in 27, like you said. So maybe next offseason, you could potentially flip those picks if you're looking to be a serious contender. But right now, I mean, you're not close. And I love that you have all those picks. Without those picks, I'd probably give this team like an F. With the picks, I'm thinking C-. I like that you have all those picks, but they still need to turn into something. And yeah, I think you're definitely in a rebuild right now. Your draft capital grade, I'll give it to you. I'll give your draft capital an A+. Okay? I'll give you an A+. No doubt about it. You've got the best draft capital in your league. But please, that's not... Hopefully you know, and I'm sure you do, that is not the goal, right? The goal is not to have the most draft picks. The goal is to win a championship. And I know you're an experienced player, so I'm sure you're already aware of that. But we'll talk about what to do with your picks here this year. You've got a couple firsts that we can work with, which is great. You've got a lot of picks, actually. I kind of wish... Well, I was going to say I kind of wish they weren't in this class, but at the same time, you already have so many picks in next year's class as well. You kind of just have a ton of assets to work with. which is good, but a lot of these won't hit, right? A lot of these picks will just ultimately not hit. Okay. All right. Let's jump to the war room because we certainly need to cook up a plan for you, man. We certainly need to cook up a plan for you. Okay, so obviously there's no harm in taking Jeremiah Love. This team has, Bijan. If you hit that room with Bijan, Jeremiah Love, that's one hell of a 1-2 to build off of long term. It is super flex, so you could go Mendoza or big 3 wide receivers. So, that's Mendoza, that's Tate, Tyson Lemon. At the 108, I'm not a huge fan of that range, but you don't have a tight end. Is it a tight end premium? I don't think it is. It's a non-tight end premium. Yeah, that 108 is not a range I'm obsessed with this year, but early indications suggest, somewhere between Boston, Concepcion, Sadiq, Coleman. If I had to guess, that's probably the range right now. Draft capital clearly is going to indicate changes there. That's probably the range of player you're looking at. The 201 to the 301 is one huge guessing game right now. Massive guessing game, but it's between all these names here. Your Catrons, your Bernards, Simpsons, Skylar Bells, Antonio Williams, Chris Bells, Eli Stowers, Jacoby Lanes. So many names. Emmett Johnson. Throw in however many names you want in there. Now, what I would like to focus on is I don't want to focus on that pick. I want to focus on the 101. This team is so far off competing, I'm not opposed if there's just an undeniable offer on the table. Is there a missing piece for a team that can go all in, for example? Let's see. No, I mean, this guy might work, but I don't think he's like a missing piece guy. This team would be perfect, but their first is going to be late, so it's like, what do you really do with that? I mean, you can hypothetically look at like a Malik Neighbors there. Yeah, I mean, do you really want to do a 102? Problem is, if you give this guy Jeremiah Love, his picks are going to be not great in the future. It's really hard to tear off the 101 this year just because we're not obsessed with tearing back in the same class. I mean, you're a couple years away. You're not going to buy Kyron Williams right now. It makes no sense to do that. Yeah, this might be harder than I initially thought. Dr. Pepper, baby. I don't think you can tear down from the 101, dude, in your league. I don't see a deal that makes sense. Look, I'll give you one hypothetical. You get the 102 Chris Olave, and Harold Fannin. And then you send, the 201 or something back in return. But I don't think it's going to work out naturally for you to send that 201 or that 101, unfortunately. I think you're probably better off sticking and picking. At the 103, who has the 104 and 5? Because I'd like to see if there's a deal there that makes sense. The 104, I love the 104 plus Matthew Golden, hypothetically. Again, you don't need to bet on players that you want to perform this year anyway. That's kind of perfect. You only move back one spot. Who has the 105 here? The 105, I love to find a way into Marvin. 105 plus Marvin Harrison Jr. And can you send back the 201? What other pick did you have? You had the 201 and the 205 or something? 201 and the 203. Those would be ideas that I would personally be obsessed with. I think they make a lot of sense for you. Yeah. But you can get, I mean, if it has to be the 201, the 203, and the 208, like, you know, you can be flexible there. There's a lot of people who are willing to move off of Marvin right now. Zohan is asking the 107 for Scat. I think that's probably right in the range for Scat right now. That's about even. Okay. I don't think there's another deal here that makes sense. I mean, you could do the 105 for a future first, but I don't think they're going to do that. The 108. 108 is in this range where if I can get young players that I want to build around and bet on, I'm not opposed to doing it. So if you can move the 108 and you do it for a Dunze, a Burden, you can move it for a Judkins. You know, that kind of range, I think that would make a lot of sense for you. You know, Marvin Harrison Jr. we just talked about. Yeah. Brian Thomas. Those are names I think make a lot of sense. So that'll be my game plan for you. Hopefully that is helpful. I know that's a lot there, but you can, with the war room, you can hold on to that. You can screenshot it. It's not going anywhere. The stream's not being taken down, so you'll have it forever. Forever and ever and ever. Okay, again, we are full rebuilding here. So are there any assets that we should probably let go of this year? Honestly, no. Probably Michael Wilson comes to mind. What do you guys think? Michael Wilson, Kamara. He's not really worth anything anymore, is he? Johnston. You really don't have guys that are very attractive outside of Michael Wilson. There's not many attractive names here. You can't sell Stroud and McCarthy. They're not worth anything. You can't sell Jonathan Brooks and Caleb Johnson. Same thing. Same with your tight ends. And the only guys that you can build off right now, Bijan and Tet, there's no reason to sell them right now unless an absolute haul comes. So with Michael Wilson, I think right now you're looking at the range of, I mean, we just did a startup today. I don't think I can go back and look at it. Let me see, can I? Okay, we can go to draft history. And in this draft, with you guys were in this draft, Michael Wilson went ahead of the 106. I thought it was a bit too early, personally. Someone's calling their shot. So, look, if you can get any first in any year, and that includes 27, of course I'm willing to do that. If you can get a 2026, 108 to 111, 100%, I'm willing to do that. I don't think that's possible in most leagues, but, Michael Wilson here went ahead of Tyler Shuck. I'd rather have Tyler Shuck. Ricky Pearsall. So, all I'm saying is in some leagues, clearly it's possible. Where's Michael Wilson right now? On the site, he's right around Ricky Pearsall. Yeah. I don't think I'd sell for a second in the future, but I'd sell for multiple future seconds. If that's ideally early to mid. Alvin Kamara, I think you'd be lucky to get any second in any year. Clearly, he's fallen off. He doesn't look like the same player. In fact, you might as well sell for an early third in 2027. Quentin Johnston, I'd also be looking at any second for him. I don't imagine. Look, I think you should probably say 2026, 202 to 206 range. And then for 2027, ideally you want an early, to mid second, if you can manage it. I don't see him ever becoming like a superstar player. Look, I think most of the damage we did, or most of the help we did, was in the war room for you today. The chalkboard, there's just not many players that really people are looking to buy. So Hopefully that's helpful, my dude. I appreciate you big time. Like I said, you're going to get that team playbook within the next 3 to 4 business days. Okay, I believe this is the last team playbook of the day. Still have some space for a review today if you want one, no pressure. But if you'd like a review, there's 2 ways you can get one. First one is by becoming an annual Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. You can check that out in the pinned comment. You get just the most we've ever offered our annual Mother Flocker members, right? The live team playbook by default, the war room, rookie draft plan, the trade hotline where you get all the vouchers, rookie report, $10 fast draft credit, etc. Alternatively, if you are a member with a different promo code, then you can go to the a la carte store and buy whatever version of playbook you want. The live by default, the priority pass, which skips the queue, or the pro pass, which doubles your playbooks. What's up, Ali says, what could I get for Henry? I think you'd be lucky to get a late first for Henry at this point. That's probably what you're looking at for a competitor. Most leagues are not going to be willing to send a first, though. Cameron says, what running backs are in the early to mid second range? Not any that you can rely on as starters. Not any veterans like we had last year. You're probably looking at Monongai, Charbonnet, Benson, Marks, Tootin, Dowdle, Corum, Algier. There's not many guys that you can't really buy veteran running backs for second rounders this year. At least I don't think so. Okay, we've got the Down here. What's up, Down? Let me get rid of this war room. The Dawn, long-time supporter. Long-time supporter. I appreciate you, Dawn. Been showing love, if I'm not mistaken, all the way up to the Patreon days. Let's have a geese. All right, it's a Superflex Start 10, another middle ground. I mean, how many of these middle grounds have we had today? I think they've been 4 out of the 5 reviews we've done. Don says, hey team, went for the chip and Macy destroyed me. Please help. I think I may need to sell either Gibbs or Genty, but would be interested in your thoughts. So is this all these people are members, Dynastyland members. I wonder if this is like I just looked at the league name. It's called Dynastyland Gang. Oh, that's funny. That's hilarious. Well, shout out to y'all. When did this league begin? By the way, I'm so curious. Okay. There is a Titan premium on this. Your name is the Dawn Father, and you're currently ranked 11th. Oof. Okie dokie. Let's have a geeze at the squad. Want to give you my time and attention here as you supporting me for so long. All right. Superflex Start 10. You got Goff, Mayfield, Rodgers. Not awesome outside of those top 2. Love the running back room, obviously. That's where your strength is. Egbuka, Flowers, Smith, not bad. Kittle going down, not ideal. And you really don't have any way to improve this offseason because nobody's going to be interested in those late 26 first round or 26 picks. I mean, let's be real. Let's call a spade. No one's going to really care about these late picks that you've got. In a Start 10, you'd be going Goff, Mayfield, Gibbs, Genty, Egbuka, Flowers. I don't think Kittle's going to be back in time, but let's say Strange. You need to start 3 more names. Those 3 names will be Etienne, Smith, Godwin. You're banking on those guys being productive. Charbonnet's already got the injury. Kittle's got the injury. Man, Don, I could see you sneaking into the playoffs here. I really could. This league there's a lot of relatively even squads. This team's very good. Well, not a quarterback. Every team has a weakness here. I mean, this is not surprising to me at all because you guys are all supporters. So the reason it's not surprising to me is because you guys are all very smart. And it doesn't look like anybody is, a scrub. That's tough, man. So Macy ended up winning. Macy won with Allen Love, right? Wow, he won with this team. That's what's funny is like Macy and your team are not all that different. He found a way to win. I think you can win. Man. I'm going to put you at an in or out. I'm going to give the team grade a C+. Yeah, because it's not the best team. There's some clear needs and injuries. I'm going to put your draft capital grade at a C-. But I think you can enter the year ready to compete. And you know what? If you want to tear down off of Gibbs or Genty, you're not going to be not able to do that in season. Do you know what I'm saying, Don? If that's the direction you want to go, you can do that now. You can do that in season. People are still going to be just as interested in those guys, if not more, in season. So, yeah. That's kind of where I stand with the team. Let's jump into the war room. Because you do have some draft capital, but not, I have no idea. It's just BPA for all these, honestly. In fact, I don't want to waste any time here. There's not much you can do with these picks. If you can trade any of them for future thirds, then awesome. Just re-roll that. If you can trade any of them, the fourth for a future fourth, again, awesome. Re-roll it. You're not. Let me be real with you. It's not what anyone wants to hear, but you are not going to have a transformational rookie draft. It's just not going to happen. Okay. And you're a smart enough player that I'm pretty sure you know that. So let's just say we are sellers in season. Let's come up with some ideas. Jahmyr Gibbs, you could look at tearing down from. Ashton Genty, you could look at tearing down from. You could look at selling a Goff. You could look at selling a Baker Mayfield. Definitely could look at selling a Travis Etienne. Godwin, Devonta Smith, Kittle. Yeah, you've got so much ammunition if you decided to really, blow this thing up. You really could make a big move. But I wouldn't do it right now. I would wait to do it in season. And it's so hard to tell you what to do in season because obviously values are going to drastically change. But let me just give you a hypothetical of what would probably make sense to me. Like a Henderson plus 2 future firsts. That kind of makes sense to me. In fact, it's not going to make sense to look at teams right now. Let's just look at names we would do it with. Same with like Amari and Hampton, obviously. Hampton makes sense. Don't know about Achan, maybe. Yeah. Achan, Bucky Irving. Achan you can't get too few first for, but Bucky Irving you can. If you did Bucky Irving, they'd have to be early firsts. And Genty, you're probably not going to be able to tear down in that same range. Genty, you could go to a Judkins Scatterboo. That's probably your ideal. And I don't think you'll get, like Judkins. I think it would have to be an early 27 first if you did it. Yeah. So Judkins, Scatterboo. So again, I'm giving you like generalized ideas. I'd say a mid future first plus a future second. This is funny if Connor is watching, because we talked about these deals on a DM the other day. But Goff and Baker Mayfield, if you can get those type of values for them. For each team, if you can get any first in 27 or 28, that's ideal. For Godwin, let's say an early to mid-second. For Devonta Smith, I would say a late first in any year. And for Kittle, I would also say an early to mid-second. So again, that's the game plan there if you were in season and you wanted to sell. Most of the time, if I saw a team like this, Don, I'd probably say, hey, I think it's time to sell. I don't think you're a serious contender. But when I look at the context of your league, so many teams are just right there in the middle. There is no dominant team. There's no one that stands head and shoulders above the rest. It really will come down to injury luck and players who kind of step up. So I could totally see a scenario where Goff and Baker are just great 1-2 punches at quarterback. Gibbs and Genty go off. Egbuka recovers. Flowers. Smith is the wide receiver 1. Kittle somehow comes back from injury. So I could totally see a scenario where, you end up being a very competitive team. I just want to be realistic as well and say that I could also see a scenario in which you just need to completely punt and really reset things. But guys, that is it for today. I appreciate y'all so much for being here and showing some love. Hey, one last thing I want to say for all of my annual Mother Flocker members. Really cool thing that we were able to hook up for you guys. First off, if you're supporting us on an annual membership, I mean, that's the best thing that you can do to, keep us going. I really appreciate y'all showing some love, keeping the lights on here. But Fast Draft hooked us up with $10 free credit for you guys. So if you're already an annual Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND, go to the Discord. Let me get rid of this. And right under the LAND tab, there's a Fast Draft credit tab. All you need to do is fill out this form, and I'm going to hook you up with $10 free Fast Draft credit. And yeah, that really is as simple as it gets. Also use the call feature if you want to call into the show. I'm trying to make sure I give you guys as much bang for your buck as I possibly can. Fast Draft just launched their Rabbit for the year. $50,000 prize pool. It's a DFS contest for the 26th season. Obviously, they also have their Origins tournament, which is rookie only. And if you're going to sign up to Fast Draft, use the promo code LAND. So there's a scenario here on Fast Draft where if you deposit $50, I'll match your deposit up to $50. And then if you get the $10 free credit, there's a chance you get $60 free credit to play on Fast Draft just by being a member. Anyway, guys, appreciate you big time for watching. And Team Playbook queue is completely free. So whoever's next up will be at the top of the queue. And I'll see you guys in the next stream. Nothing but love. Appreciate y'all hanging out.